Hey guys, welcome back to round 6 of the F1 Esports 2025 Championship, and we are now in Spa-Francorchamps. So, as you quickly saw there by the weather forecast, wet, very wet quali, basically the whole qualifying, except a little small window in quali 2 in Q2 where it should be dry or dry enough to put on the soft tires and have a one-shot quali for Q3. So this is going to be a very interesting quali session as we were not happy about this because, as I said in my previous video, if you guys haven't checked it out, make sure you go and watch it. It was round 5 in Silverstone, and we were fighting for the win there, so make sure you go check it out. But at the end of the video, I said that Spa was our favorite track or our best track in terms of performance, and in training and from what we heard from the others, there was no one really close to us in the dry, and we were really hoping for a dry session, especially because we saw recently in the last few races that maybe in the wet we are not particularly up there with the rest, and it's something that we have to figure out for event 3. We're not too sure why at this moment, what's causing it, but it's clear that we don't have the pace on the wet as much as the others, or a few others. So we were really hoping for the dry qualifying, and of course we get the full wet quali, which hasn't really happened before, so couldn't have happened at the worst moment. But it is what it is. We have to get on with it now. And we are now on board with my first lap in Q1 with the Inter tire, which it's just basically a learning lap, because the first lap on the Inters that you do is always very slow. A little bit because of the track not being at its best conditions, but also because you just have to get used to such a different driving, and yeah, just having one lap extra under your belt is such a huge advantage in this series. So yeah, the first lap will never be, or very rarely be, enough to pass on to the next session, and we manage the last sector very well actually. But as you saw on my ERS deployment, I'm completely out. I have nothing left, and we do a 52.1, which puts me now P3, 4 tenths behind Thomas, and we drop down to P7 right behind Barry. And this is the end of Q1. The track is drying up. We know it's gonna get dry in Q2, and we want the best conditions possible. And look at the train in front of us and how on top of each other we are, as there's 17 seconds left. Everyone has to get a move on if we all want to start the lap, and it's a very important lap. We cannot invalidate or make a mistake, because everyone, just like Silverstone, will improve massively here as we now do into turn 1. Very weird turn in. In the wet, it sucks to see or just look at. That steering input that I do, or that most of us do in the wet especially, you can still do it in the dry. It's just to stop the car, because the friction coefficient, or the friction, how it works in this game, is so strong, and it just stops the car. So that allows us to brake a little bit later and carry a bit more speed, and still have and still brake enough for the apex, as we do a really good sector 1 and a decently good Lecombe chicane, and I can see that I'm catching Ismail actually during the lap, so it's giving me a lot of confidence into No Name here, getting a really good exit. We are 1.4 seconds up, and we're gonna try and manage the ERS a little bit better than we did the previous lap, because as you remember, I ran out super early. But it seems to be the case in the wet in Spa. You don't really have enough ERS for the whole lap, so you just kind of have to choose where you want to use it. And we are now 2 seconds up almost, and the lap is going extremely well. I don't see any mistake at all, and it looks very clean. So in my mind at this point, I just think surely I'm faster than most cars, or at least faster than 5 of them, so I'm just gonna bring it home. As you can see, Ismail is gapping me a little bit here, but I think it's due to the ERS usage. I ran out again way before last corner, and it's not something I liked to see, but we do a very good last chicane, get a good exit, and Alfie goes P1 with a 49.3, but we go P3 with a 49.5, so very good lap by us. Alfie almost 2 times quicker, puts us in P3, but unfortunately Barry is P16 alongside Tamas, Joris, Duncan, and I don't remember who P20 was now, but yeah. Barry is out in Q1, as that's not very good for us. Again, we are like 60 plus points behind Merck, and again, we don't have both cars in Q3, or at least fighting for the points for now. So it wasn't very good, and he felt very down afterwards. But it's Spa. Anything can happen in the race here, because it's super easy to overtake once you have a tire delta, and yeah, it's never over until it's over. As we saw in Jeddah, we were last the whole race, and right at the end with the crazy crash that there was, got myself a nice little P7. So yeah, need to focus now onto my quality runs now. And this is the first lap in Q2. As you can see, it's actually stopped raining, but it is not dry. So it's a very weird grip, and I remember we kind of compromised with the downforce levels of the car here, and kind of went a bit higher wing than we usually had in the dry, because we wanted to, you know, have a bit more grip, because the track was still damp and not very easy to drive, and we were still sliding a bit. So, but thankfully I did it, because I remember I felt very comfortable in the session here. As you can see, again, no major mistake whatsoever, very clean lap so far, and we are one of the first ones to actually finish the lap here. So I'm sure the people behind me will have a better track condition, and potentially, or very likely, will go faster. As you can see, managing my ERS a bit different again, trying to learn from the previous laps and keep some for the exit of the last corner here. Down to third gear, very good apex here. Lucas only starting this lap now, so yeah, he's gonna have a much drier track than myself. We go P1 with a 43.1. It's not gonna last. We're not gonna last in P1 for much longer. As you can see, we're now in P7, and that is because I was one of the first ones to set a lap. So on the contrary now, second lap in Q2, I think I'm either the last, as Ismail finishes the lap with a 40.7, which is very good and indicates that the track is dry, because a 40.7 is almost fully dry pace. So I know that now I can just do a good lap, or like a drive as if it was dry, and I felt super comfortable doing that. So yeah, right now I'm one of the middle cars to do the lap. I think a few people behind me starting, and a few people ahead of me still have to start, as Freddy now goes P1 with a 40.7, and we all went out a little bit earlier once again, like Silverstone, because we were scared that it was going to rain at the end of Q2, which I believe it actually did just as the clock ticked down. So it was a good call. But now we've got to keep it clean, because we're improving by 1.5 seconds, and we are in P11. We are not through yet, as I think Lucas already did his lap, or I'm not too sure. But yeah, again, very good chicane there. Stavelo here, hit the inside curb a little bit, don't go on the gravel. 13.2. It's all right. It's a relatively fast pace lap. So if I get a good sector here, a good last chicane, I'm potentially gonna get P1, as we're now dead last as everyone is finishing their laps. We're 2.1 seconds now. We should gain quite a bit of time, as we get a little lockup at the end there, which was, I pooped my pants there, to be honest. I locked the rears and almost lost the car, and we go P2 with a 0.777. I mean, with that mistake in the last corner, that would have definitely been a P1 there, but it doesn't matter. Jarno, crucially, out in P11, but once again, both Mercedes cars through to Q3, and this, I believe, is a one-shot quali for pole position. It started raining at the start of Q3, and we tried to go out as fast as I possibly could, but as you can see, being in the Ferrari, we are towards the start of the pit lane, so we are almost always the last car, or towards the last cars out on track, which gives us the worst conditions for the lap. But there's nothing we can do about it, and I just have to put my head down and try to do the best lap I can. And it helps having Freddy in front of me, because if I had no one in front, I don't really know what the conditions are like. and it's basically a guessing game, but I can just learn from watching Freddy in front of me where kind of he's braking, where he has grip, and kind of the speed he's carrying through the corner. And it's very, very helpful in a situation like this. I always try to aim to start my lap behind someone in the wet or changing conditions like they are now. I feel way more comfortable, and just learning from the car ahead just gives me that little bit more ease and just confidence going into the corner. As we can see, the track is very, very wet at this point. There's not even a dry line, so the grip is very, very low. We had to keep changing the downforce levels throughout this whole session based on how dry or how wet it was. So I remember in Q2 first run we had a bit higher wing. Q2 second run we lowered the wing to a fully dry level. Now start of Q3 here, it was an in-between because we still wanted that straight line speed. It was just very hard to guess the correct wing here. But it looks like the lap is very, very good. As you can see, we are right behind Freddy at this point, and Tom Manley goes P1, straight away beaten by Ulas, and that's a 52.2. And look how close we are to Freddy, who actually pits. And yeah, I think he invalidated a corner, and yeah, I think he wasn't pushing as much. So I end up doing a 52.4 only, and that drops me down to P8. So once again, starting P8 back to back again. Yeah, I mean, just 2/10 away from P2. Thomas did a really good lap there, getting 52-0, 52-0. Yeah, I don't. Again, back to the wet pace conversation again. We were just not quite there yet. Mercedes 5 and 6, very, very good starting position for them, and we will be starting on the hard tire. I think everyone actually might be on the hards, so we're gonna stay on board here for the start. Very, very crucial with the main straight here. Get a good start, stay in front of Ismail, and try to keep our nose clean. Stay around the outside. I prefer the outside much more on this corner. Gives us a better exit here, as we are now going side by side with Brendan here, and we are all super fast on the straight. Istvan slotting in behind Danny, side by side with Brendan going up Eau Rouge. Very, very clean. I had to lift a little bit, and that made Ismail able to attack, but everyone is just reaching maximum speed here because we're all using our ERS down to nothing, basically. And yeah, I don't think much more is going to happen from now on. It's very hard to overtake when we have all the same tire. We maybe have a look here down the inside, but Brendan knows and defends it. And from this moment on, I'm already thinking about strategy and what to do. And looking at the Mercedes ahead, and having Freddy and Jarno behind, because they were both, I think they were P10 and P11 actually. I knew they would try something, or either undercutting together or overcutting together. But I really kind of felt going long. I'm not too sure why. My gut was telling me that going longer was maybe the right call for this race. But if I did see only one car ahead of me pit, then I would follow that car. But I remember there's a big mistake that is going to happen in my pit entry. You guys will see what I'm talking about. I just realized too late how many cars are going in, and I changed my mind at the last second, and it was very, very confusing in the moment, and it will cost me quite a bit. And it pains me to watch it again, because it's such a dumb mistake or a dumb thing, and it's gonna cost me so many positions. But yeah, hindsight is a beautiful thing, and in the moment you just have that split second decision. As you can see here, we're now into lap 8. As I said, nothing happens, but again, nothing happens, but Ismail will now do an undercut in lap 8, and at this moment I'm ready to pit, because I know people in front will pit, but I only want to pit if there's 1 or 2 cars maximum pitting. And I realized too late that Brendan here is actually pitting, and I didn't want to follow him, because that means I would have been P4 in the train. And by doing that, I lost the DRS to the Mercs ahead of me, and I was trying to maybe keep the place from Jarno here, so I'm going to use my ERS, which again, in hindsight, mistake. but I really thought I could keep the position because Jarno was 7 tenths behind, but that completely messed up my race because now both Freddy and Jarno will pass me on the straight for free, and I'm gonna have no ERS. Yeah, I only wanted to pit if there was one car ahead of me pitting. That was the instruction, that was the idea, because that meant I would be P3 in the train, which is a position that you can fight for the win for or from. But if 2 cars pitted or more, I should stay out, because then it meant I would have been P4, and from P4 you're just stuck. You can't do anything. So that is the reasoning and the logic behind what happened. Unfortunately, it happened just so quickly and too late that I couldn't react in time. And that really cost me a bunch of time loss. And remember that I was right behind the Mercedes of Istvan, yeah? So just keep in mind where Istvan is going to finish this race, and what could have been, because I was kicking myself quite a lot, because now I'm just trying to recover the ERS that I used, and it's very, very hard to save the ERS if the person ahead of you is pushing, and the 2 Red Bulls were pushing quite hard in their in laps. So we now have Otis Lawrence behind us, which I think has way more ERS than us, and he will try to pass us at some point for sure. And I believe this might be our in lap. No, it's not actually. We decide to follow Jarno, because if Jarno pits and I don't, I just have no DRS and Otis gets past. So I just wanted to follow Jarno. Whatever he did, I would just do the same, and maybe use this lap to save my ERS a little bit. But as you can see behind, Otis is going to try and overtake us this lap, which I'm not too sure. I mean, of course you guys would think, yeah, of course he's just going for the move. Why would he not go for the move? But we both used all of our ERS for nothing. Like, now we have no ERS for our outlaps, and it just felt dumb in the moment. Like, you're not gonna pass me because I can still defend you, and then we both now have no ERS. So yeah, I don't know. Anyways, onto the pits now, as we do a little lock up there, as the tires are just completely dead, and time to pit and go onto the medium tire. Yeah, Istvan actually will go an extra lap because of the fact that he had that gap between himself and Jarno. The gap that was created thanks to me, in a way. So he can afford to go an extra lap and still be ahead of us with a lap fresher tires. So Istvan is doing exactly what he should, and I'm sure if I was right behind him, I would follow him wherever he would go. And we are now exiting the pits, cutting the pit lane exit because we are allowed to do that. And here Otis just, I guess, knew he had more ERS than me or something, and he just flies past. I'm not too sure how he managed to have so much ERS compared to me here when he was out of ERS at the same time as me before. So again, another position lost, all because of what happened with the pit stop, and the mess up that happened in the strategy, which, yeah, I mean, I have to take blame for that. Obviously, it was hard to react in time, and I didn't, so that cost me everything. And we are now stuck behind Joris, which I think did a very, very early undercut, and hopefully we can get past him quickly. Around the outside here of Piff Puff, yes, we try and go, as Otis gets a little bit bumped by Alvaro there. And I believe I also have wing damage at this point, a little bit, not too much, just like a few %, which does hinder me quite a lot in the corners. But I just have to keep trying and try and salvage something from this race, because once again we were in a really good position to score big, and yeah, ruined by that very small mistake. Because now we're gonna just swap with Otis and try to catch back up to Jarno. Watch the gap to Jarno, like 2.1 seconds, and he's just about behind Istvan. As now both Josh and Otis pass me. And Istvan now is on much fresher tires than the guys ahead, and he will have an easy time overtaking all of them. And now I'm just stuck behind the two Alpines, which are again working together just like China, keeping me behind. And I can't do anything. I'm just completely stuck here. Maybe try to go around the outside of Yoni here, but I'm not sure if I can make the move stick, which I actually do. It was very, very clean racing here. And we go around the outside there, and we have the inside for No Name. Barry just behind us, and we're now on the last lap, fighting for P12. And as you can see on the minimap, that Mercedes right there that you see, the leading Mercedes, is actually Istvan. He managed to get, I think, a P2 with that strategy, and we were right behind him. So it really pains me to see how big a small mistake can cost you in a championship like this. As we actually maybe get Isma here at the end, but he already has a penalty anyway. So P12 for us in the end. Barry P14. Yeah, Istvan P2 with that crazy strategy, which I would have followed or liked to follow. So once again, another Mercedes podium with Istvan in P2, and the points is just racking up. So we really got to step it up. We are like 90 points behind. I'll see you guys on the next race. Thank you guys for watching. And goodbye.